We brought in a bunch of institutional investors, a bunch of couple senators, policy folks, and we're talking about crypto. And one of the best conversations they had was a bunch of leading hedge funds who were talking about their strategies. And in fact, yeah, I think 4 out of 5 of the big hedge funds, and I won't name names, but you can look up the agenda online. We're all talking about how much money they had made and how much time they spent investing in meme coins.
This content is brought to you by VeChain, which is a leading enterprise-grade Layer 1 public blockchain spearheading a digital revolution from a sustainable, highly scalable smart contract platform. The VeChain blockchain has many unique features, which makes it an ideal choice for Web3 applications. VeChain is working with many great enterprises such as PwC, Givenchy, BMW, and Walmart China. Most recently, they partnered with the Boston Consulting Group to build a revolutionary decentralized application ecosystem. I'm a big believer in this project. I have been since 2018. I've been a VET token holder for years. And this blockchain is highly scalable, great with security and speed, and it has low energy consumption. If you'd like to learn more about VeChain, please visit vchain.org. Link will be in the description. Welcome to the Thinking Crypto podcast. I'm your host, Tony Edward, and with me today is Tim Ogilvie, who's Kraken's global head of institutional. Tim, great to have you on.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me, Tony.
Tim, as mentioned before the recording, I'm a user of the Kraken platform. I've followed Kraken for many years and been keeping up with all the big updates and so forth. But, I'm really excited to ask you all the details, the questions about the details about what's going on and what's on your roadmap and so forth. But before we get there, tell us about yourself, where you're from and where'd you grow up?
Sure. So I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. I've spent like 25 years basically building businesses. I spent first 10 years of my life helping other people start companies in the dot-com era and across a bunch of different businesses. And then the last 10, 15 years have been building businesses on my own. And so I founded a company called Staked about 7 years ago, which provides non-custodial staking services to institutions in crypto, and we sold that to Kraken about 2.5 years ago. So I've been with Kraken for 2.5 years, running our institutional business. I broadly live in New York and have lived here and around New York basically all my life.
So let's go back a bit before Stake. What was your first encounter with Bitcoin or crypto, and what was your aha moment?
I prior to starting Staked, I had heard about crypto, but really was not a believer, nor had I really spent a whole lot of time thinking about it. I have a good friend who was very early into crypto. He kept bugging me in my ear, and I never listened, to my detriment. But as a lifelong entrepreneur, as I think through what are new opportunities that I might want to take on, I look where like big VCs are spending their time and money. And so in 2017, there were a lot of VCs investing in what are now prominent layer 1 solutions. So things like Polkadot, Cosmos, Ethereum, all were getting big VC investment and attention. And when I looked at them, they all had staking at the heart of them. And so that looked really intriguing to me because it looked a whole lot like an interest rate. And I had my only non-entrepreneurial experience was on the derivatives desk at JP Morgan, the fixed income derivatives desk. So I saw this like whole universe of things that come from a simple interest rate. And so had this core belief, which I continue to have, that core reward structure built into proof of stake was going to lead to a lot of similar explosion in terms of fixed income opportunities that are in crypto. And so that's really what got me started. And as I spent time understanding crypto and going deeper, I've since become a very deep convert into Bitcoin and all the things that crypto has to offer. But it took me a long time to get there.
Mm. And when Kraken acquired Stake, did that essentially power their staking services that they offer now?
That's right. Yeah. And so we offer we power all the staking for Kraken. So Kraken has a best in class staking offering. Behind the scenes, the nodes that are operated are all run by the stake team. Staked
Mm.
also runs that on behalf of a bunch of institutional customers, including other exchanges, custodians, and a whole bunch of folks that kind of fit that model.
Mm. So a bit about staking. I would love to get your thoughts since we're on the topic. Do you see this as the future where people are going to allocate more of their funds to, given that, let's say, bonds and certain traditional financial products are not performing as well as they used to? And keep in mind to add to that for context is the current debasement of currency and how that affects a lot of these things. Do you think that there's going to be more capital flowing to staking crypto in addition to holding crypto assets in the future?
Yeah, I think probably the answer is yes to both. I mean, I think the model portfolio is really evolving, right? I mean, you had this notion, it's a little antiquated at this point, but you had this notion of like a 60/40 stocks and bonds portfolio was sort of the right way to allocate your portfolio. And that has continued to evolve as sophisticated investors think about what's the right portfolio. But
Mm.
most of the conversations we have are starting to come from a basis that thinks about, well, what's a different model portfolio given that I don't really like bonds, right? They have low yields in fiat currencies that are getting just completely eroded away by inflation. And so maybe there are some alternatives, and there's all sorts of different things that people consider, whether those are alternative investments, illiquid, equity funds, things like that. But increasingly, crypto is a piece of that where people are saying, I'm going to take 1, 2, 5% of my portfolio and allocate it to crypto. I love the notion of replacing fiat denominated bonds with staking related crypto assets where you get a yield in the underlying asset and you get the resistance to money printing that's going on by governments,
Right.
kind of tied up into one. I think that's a terrific reallocation.
Mm. And obviously, you're on the institutional side. So we know retail, even myself, obviously I'm part of retail that I'm staking and I'm earning a higher yield
I
than I
am too.
get.
Yep.
Yeah, than like the traditional, checking and savings accounts and all that stuff. But is the institutional crowd waking up to this? Because we know they want to put their money to work and they have pools of capital, and they're like, man, this thing is not looking great. Let's start to allocate more and more of our capital to staking and things like that.
Yeah, I would say uh, there's been an evolution in terms of, and there's a constant evolution over the last 7, 8 years in terms of institutional adoption. The first folks in were venture capital firms who were kind of seeking out new projects, high frequency trading operations, and market makers who looked at this as just another asset class they could trade. Increasingly, that's evolved to hedge funds and RIAs as really understanding how crypto can be fit into a broader portfolio. I mean, I think about hedge funds as kind of heat-seeking missiles for yield, and so they're going after any opportunity they can find. They're very quick to identify those things. What we haven't seen so far in any size has been the very largest allocators of capital. So things like sovereign wealth funds, pensions, and endowments. You're only seeing small allocations there. I think the Wisconsin Pension Fund has made an investment um, in BlackRock's ETF, but most of those allocations are still quite small, and part of that is that crypto is relatively small for the size of their portfolios. But I think the most recent folks that we see all the time are hedge funds that are kind of traditionally allocated to um, traditional asset classes and are now increasingly spending time in crypto.
Yeah, and as you're saying that, I'm thinking about the SEC, they didn't allow staking in the ETH ETFs. And I know that's something a lot of folks would want because they can hold the asset, but also earn at the same time.
Sure.
And that could probably be a big game changer, which will bring in more retail, more institutional investors as well.
Very much so, yeah. And so, Kraken works with, we talk to all the ETF issuers. We work with a lot of them. There's really four components or three components today, and the fourth being staking down the line. So, an ETF issuer needs those three pieces. They need an index provider. And so Kraken CF Benchmarks is the leading index provider for ETFs. They need a liquidity provider to actually buy and sell the underlying Bitcoin or ETH.
Mm.
And Kraken's got deep liquid exchanges for that and relationships with most of the folks. And they need a custodian to keep it safe. And Kraken's custody offering is a qualified custodian that can service most of these guys. And so we're hoping that down the line we can also help them with staking, because I do think it's an important component. If you have an asset like ETH where the supply is increasing through staking rewards, you almost have a fiduciary responsibility to stake it. And I think all the ETF issuers want to, and they just need the SEC to give them a green light.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, really quick, if you can give us an overview of Kraken for those who may not know, Kraken as an exchange and the different services. Obviously, there's a retail side of the business and an institutional side of the business.
Sure. Yeah, so Kraken's 13 years old. We've been offering Kraken exchange services for 13 years in a secure, reliable way. It's founded by Jesse Powell, who is a crypto OG and really kind of just bleeds crypto in terms of the core beliefs. And I think that drove a lot of our original usage. We're also kind of crypto OGs who continue to stay with Kraken and build a strong business. We have a strong business in the US and in Europe, worldwide, but US and Europe are really where we're dominant. Well-regulated business. We play by the rules in all the jurisdictions we operate in. On the institutional side, we've offered a lot of services that were useful for institutions, and we've had lots of institutional customers, but we've never put a badge on it and called it something different than our core exchange that's offered to everybody. And I think as the regulatory landscape has evolved, it became important for us to make clear to institutions that we had a bunch of the tools that they needed to operate a best-in-class regulated institutional business. So those are things like qualified custody, which every hedge fund and money manager needs to use. Those are a suite of tools around execution across multiple venues. So not just Kraken, but across the entire landscape of liquidity providers. We can help execute on trades, and a whole suite of tools that people have, so they can kind of drop in and immediately get all the things they need to trade in crypto.
Mm. And what type of clients are you working with? And you mentioned some like hedge funds and so forth. Is it like family offices, high net worth individuals, and so forth?
Yeah, so it runs the gamut. When I think about our institutional business, we think about four segments. The first are trading firms, so arbitrageurs, high frequency traders. Those guys have been with the exchange since the beginning. They're critically important to flow and lots of volume. We work with lots of intermediaries who are prime brokers or other people who are helping people get access to Kraken's liquidity. We work with asset allocators like ETF issuers, venture capital firms, hopefully someday lots of pensions and endowments.
Mm.
And we also work with high net worth individuals. So folks that are running family offices, large and small, and then multifamily offices who are thinking about providing liquidity for lots of rich families.
I wonder if you could take us a bit behind the curtain and with your conversations with these folks. What I'm curious about is the change in the mindset. And I'm curious, how are they having their aha moment when they have conversations with you like, hey, we want to have exposure to this asset class? Are they more bullish? Are you seeing more, activity around or demand, I should say, for these services, given that the BlackRocks and the Fidelities are here, ETFs are here. There's no longer maybe this stigma of, oh, this is a fad, this is from money laundering and things like that.
There's still people who say all of the skeptical things that we've been hearing for 13 years, right? Which is that this is a fad, this is going away, this is a scam. Um, every day it gets a little bit harder to justify staying out of the pool in terms of, these are all firms who make money either trading assets or allocating assets. And it is very hard for them to ignore their end customers who are saying, I want access to these things. And you can see the enormous inflows to the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs as a real standard, a real bellwether for how much customer demand there is. Um, I think, another reflection of that, Morgan Stanley and Wells Fargo have both said they're allowing their advisors to now talk to their clients about crypto allocations as part of the model portfolio. There are other places who continue to say crypto's a fad. It's going to go away. It's a scam. But I think what you're seeing is just a steady increase in the number of people who are saying, I don't think it's going away, or maybe I need to hedge my bets that it's not going away anytime soon, and actually put a toe in the pool and figure out what it's about. And we have those conversations every day because we can help people get started from day one all the way to building a very large business on top of our foundation. And so those are fun conversations to have because I think there's a lot more excitement about the asset class.
Mm. And what type of services are you offering to them? Is it like spot trading, derivatives trading, things like that, and obviously staking and custody?
Yeah, we offer the whole gamut. So we can take a institutional customer and give them everything they'd want to do. That includes, and some of these things are restricted based on where you are, but includes a deep liquid spot exchange, a deep liquid futures exchange. We have an OTC desk that also offers structured derivative products.
Mm.
We offer staking. We offer financing to some of our customers. We offer execution services to folks like the ETF providers. So it's kind of, if you think about crypto, we have CF Benchmarks, which is the leading index provider in the category, which is important for ETFs and derivatives and a bunch of tools like that.
Mm.
So, we like to think about having the full suite of tools that an institution would need to build a business in crypto. And we can very clearly get you started and help you build that entire business all within a Kraken owned ecosystem.
Mm.
Which means that you're not dealing with multiple partners, you're not dealing with multiple people taking a tax on your revenue. So people love working with us for that reason.
And as far as demand for assets, is it primarily Bitcoin and then maybe ETH and then a little bit of the others?
It all depends on risk tolerance. I mean, I think the risk tolerance and maturity in the category, right? I think the classic journey that a lot of people take um, often starts with Bitcoin, which has a very clear established thesis as digital gold, a great store of value, an uncorrelated asset with other asset classes. Um, as they start to get a little bit more comfortable, sometimes they think about Ethereum. Other times they go in a different direction, which is maybe they want a basis trade where they're buying spot and selling the futures to just earn a dollar denominated yield. Um, and then, we have a whole different set of clients who are combination of venture capital or early investors in where they can put allocations into um, promising crypto assets that they think have all the characteristics that are going to go up. And, they are paid to make those allocations and those bets. I think what's cool about crypto is, if you look at the stock market, the the costs of doing business in the stock market are so high that every promising company stays private as long as it possibly can because it doesn't make any sense. It's just easier to take private capital and stay public, like a Stripe who's 60 or 90 billion dollars and still isn't public. That means the individual investor misses out on the gains from like something going public at $500 million or $1 billion all the way up to where Stripe is today.
Mhm.
And crypto has some advantages in that there are a lot of token assets out there where you, if you're willing to do the due diligence, the venture capital and other hedge fund investors are doing to find diamonds in the rough, that creates enormous opportunity, and there's a lot of upside associated with it that I think is relatively unique to crypto.
This is not a joke question. I'm generally curious. Are any of them playing around with meme coins? Because we've seen so many meme coins. We've seen a
Sure.
lot of volatility, but a lot of, incredible returns. Are any of them testing that?
Yeah, I was so Kraken recently sponsored a conference, SALT conference out in Wyoming,
Oh,
where we brought in a bunch of institutional investors, a bunch of couple senators, policy folks, and we're talking about crypto. And one of the best conversations they had was a bunch of leading hedge funds who were talking about their strategies. And in fact, yeah, I think 4 out of 5 of the big hedge funds, and I won't name names, but you can look up the agenda online. We're all talking about how much money they had made and how much time they spent investing in meme coins because even though, yeah, it's a meme coin, it's crazy that these are fundamental investors. And I'm a pretty fundamental investor guy, so it's not something I touch. But they had all spent a lot of time there, and I think continue to spend a lot of time looking at meme coins. So
Wow, that's fascinating.
yeah.
And I'm curious, like, it is probably a question you can't answer because we don't know all the details, but is it more of the newer meme coins or the legacy meme coins like your Doge, your SHIB, and Pepe versus, I don't know, something
They,
that popped up last month?
these folks are playing the whole spectrum of things. They were playing with the Doge and Pepes of the world, but all the way through, the cycles with Bonk and Whiff, and all the new ones today. So, these are folks who are living a day-to-day in crypto, and that's where a lot of the activity is. And so that's where they're spending a lot of their time.
Yeah. Um, uh, what do you think about meme coins? And I have a thesis, if you want to call it that, that it's so new, it's so weird. It's not, you look at Bitcoin, there's a store, it's a store of value, it's hard money, it's digital money, right? Meme coin could be about a frog, a dog, but it's more of the an interesting dynamic, and maybe this goes back to GameStop and AMC, the crowdsourcing, the community, the culture on the blockchain, which is like a new paradigm shift, I guess. I don't know if you want to call it that. What are your thoughts on that?
Uh, in general, I take the point of view that my clients are smarter than I am, and so I I don't try and second guess these things. I don't try and outthink it. What I can say is when you got a bunch of the smartest folks that I know who are spending a lot of time on meme coins, my immediate reaction to dismiss it and to say this is nuts is probably not the right way to think about it. And so I think there's probably more there than I've been able to wrap my head around. I like to get to like a first principles narrative around why is this, right? Bitcoin, I have a very clear belief that like combination of fixed supply and governments are addicted to printing money means that Bitcoin is a great long-term investment. Ethereum, I love because I think the vast amount of things you can do in an internet computer and a decentralized network like Ethereum provides on smart contracts, it just creates an enormous amount of opportunity. And I could go on and on.
Yeah.
I
And
can't construct that necessarily with the meme coins yet,
right.
but someone smarter than me will put it together for me, and then the aha moment will likely go off, or we'll move on like we have in a couple other categories.
Yeah, and one of the ways I've been thinking about it is like, you have these moments in time where things become popular, right? It could be a toy, it could be a way you dress, a trend in clothing. It could be a slang, right? Just becomes something that becomes a cultural phenomenon. And it seems like some of that is going on the blockchain. And while there's no like strong thesis behind it or, strong use case, it's I don't know. It's human speculation, people just speculating, and the things that are not tangible necessarily going on the blockchain, which is fascinating. And then I think about, okay, that aside, the principle of it could be used for fundraising and for businesses and politicians and so forth, because maybe all this goes on the blockchain eventually. And the same way people are crowdsourcing behind meme coins, they can crowdsource behind a person or entrepreneur or a new
Sure.
company, right? And
Yeah. Now
yeah,
you're seeing all these things go out, and it's fascinating to take a little entrepreneurial spirit and the ability to sort of spin up these tokens quickly, and you see the full breadth of kind of creativity on that stuff.
yeah,
So sometimes for better and sometimes for worse, but
right,
it's the full spectrum, that's for sure.
for sure. Now regarding Kraken's institutional custody service, I read that you folks were able to get a Wyoming bank charter license. Tell us about that and how it's different from maybe the normal process, because Wyoming is
Sure.
kind of leading the charge here.
Yeah, Wyoming has been real pioneers in terms of providing a regulatory structure that allows companies to know what they're dealing with, and I think pretty distinct from the uh, the sort of national approach, which has been regulation by enforcement. Wyoming has provided a bunch of clear guidelines that we can work with. So we set up a Wyoming SPDI, which is really just shorthand for a bank under the bank charter laws in Wyoming. And what that means is really it's a legal structure, meaning that assets are held by in title for the customer, not by the bank itself. And it provides a legal structure so that we can act as a qualified custodian for institutions. And that's an important designation. If you've got a bunch of hedge funds, basically every hedge fund and RIAs need to hold crypto with a qualified custodian. And so we're one of a few people who can actually perform those capabilities. So it's a critical piece of the value chain in terms of how we interact with investors who, as a retail investor, I'm perfectly happy having Kraken provide on the exchange with free custody services, right? I think they are best in class security, best in class reliability. I probably know more than most, but I feel very comfortable with that as a trade.
Mhm.
Legally, hedge funds and other holders of assets on behalf of customers can't make that choice. They actually need to work with the qualified custodian. So it's really important that we provide those services. And Wyoming's allowed us to do that.
Do you foresee? I know we're still waiting on the federal level for proper legislation for this industry and asset class, right? And there's a bill that made it out of the House. We're still waiting on the Senate. There's the SEC, the CFTC. There's a lot to fix here. But from a state level, it seems like the states are leading the charge on a lot of these things. Obviously, Wyoming, an example. Um, do you think other states are going to follow Wyoming's model? And I don't know if you can answer this question, is it easy for them to do that?
Um, I'm not as much of a regulatory person, so I don't know which other states are really taking a forward-leaning approach. I would say Wyoming has leaned so far forward and has done so much for the category that I'd be surprised if anyone else can gather the attention that they really can do. I'd contrast it with New York, who with their bit license and NYDFS's refusal to provide licenses to most folks, it's challenging to do business in New York, and so it becomes really something that you've got to go elsewhere. And so I think other states will recognize that. I hope other states will recognize that, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure we're seeing much traction today.
Yeah, my thought there is maybe Texas because they've been a big believer in Bitcoin mining. A ton of miners are down there.
Yeah, that's a
They
good point.
yeah, but to your point of, getting into the bank charter license, that's a whole other ball game versus supporting
Yeah,
Bitcoin miners. So we'll see. And hopefully the states can ramp up their efforts. And this way it might force the federal government to move faster and to start to pay attention to this and get things in order.
sure. Got fingers crossed on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So what's on your 2024 roadmap or the remainder of 2024?
Yeah, I mean 2024 is almost behind us. I think, we spent a lot of time on building the core foundations that institutions and investors can count on as kind of the foundational tools to do business in crypto. And so that's our qualified custodian, and it's our prime execution tooling. So our ability to, if you want to buy 500 or 5,000 Bitcoin to get the best price execution across the entire landscape. Those are really important tools that everybody is asking us for, and we're using all day. And I think the rest of it is just leaning into what our customers are telling us they need and figuring out how we can deliver more of that stuff. Pretty
Mm.
simple stuff, but still important.
Um, I'd love to get your thoughts on tokenization and what's happening there. And a lot of TradFi players are tokenizing
Yep.
on the blockchain. And is Kraken, with its custody services and so forth, able to support custody of those tokenized assets?
Yeah, so we today we don't support the um, what I'd call stablecoin alternatives, but it's an active area where we're spending tons of time. I think, when I think about it, I go back to the when we started Staked. One of the things I thought about was like, well, if you buy this crypto asset, it's kind of a no-brainer that you're going to stake it as long as you can get comfortable with the risks because you get a yield associated with it alongside holding the asset. And today, people who are holding stable coins and institutions are holding stable coins in big numbers are not getting paid for that. The only people getting paid are Coinbase and Circle. And if you look at these alternatives, they offer the option of earning yield on overnight holdings. And so I think it's just going to be an enormous shift in terms of stablecoin holdings over to those, and we're positioning ourselves to be a leader there. So stay tuned in terms of what we can support.
So I got to ask, is Kraken thinking of launching its own stablecoin?
I'm not the person. We think about everything, right? And we think about launching stable coins. We think about all sorts of projects, layer twos. Um, the the landscape of stable coins is changing a lot, and we're spending tons of time there. I mean, specifically, we do a ton of business in Europe, and Mika is providing some new stablecoin legislation that's really going to change things. And so we have a bunch of different plans that I've seen. I don't know because it's not my area. I don't know. Oh my God. I don't know exactly which plan we're going to end up following on that one.
Got it, got it. It seems like everyone's launching a stable coin these days, and the
Yeah.
market might become too saturated, but
Well, I
that
think you need,
happens.
you need a lot of liquidity, right? And so I
Yeah.
think the trade-off is it's fun to have a vanity stable coin, but your customers want it to have enough liquidity that it really is stable and liquid. So we got to make sure we can check both those boxes.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I would love to get your thoughts, given your background in the crypto industry and market, about how the market has grown. And we got Bitcoin and Ether ETFs, and it seems crypto has gone fully mainstream. We've crossed the chasm, right? And it's incredible. If you told me back in 2017 that we would be here and BlackRock and all these guys would be here, I wouldn't have believed you necessarily. But it's incredible. What are your thoughts on the growth?
Yeah, I mean, The growth has been amazing, right? I mean, you just see it, and it's not steady in that, like, I joke a lot of times that we're in a seasonal business, but you never know like what season it is now. But it is you're seeing just this like ongoing progress as you get more and more people under the tent. And that's really exciting to see because I think it's important technology. I think a lot of investors can benefit from an allocation in the portfolio. So I don't know, my guess is that just keeps coming, and I'm excited for kind of broader allocation.
Mm. And not financial advice, but right now the market is down a bit, and September historically has not been great for crypto and markets and so forth.
Yeah.
Fed rate cuts are around the corner. Do you think we still have another leg in this bull market to go, where following the 4-year cycle, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I don't I try to stay clear of making real price predictions. I
Yeah.
think what we see today is a lot of clients positioning kind of on both sides of things, right? One side is basically saying there are a bunch of bullish things that are lining up for crypto in terms of a Fed who's no longer going to be raising interest rates and probably is going to lower them. Um, the both sides of the U.S. election are probably going to continue minting money and printing additional dollars, and so that's probably a good long-term thing for Bitcoin.
Mm,
We see other people who, and I think Arthur Hayes had a smart blog post the other day around, um, reverse repos, which is a sort of a technical corner of the market. Offering higher yields than treasuries is a sign that like you're going to have people chasing yield in other directions and not necessarily flowing into things like crypto. And so we see a lot of people positioning themselves for just like, they're not really sure where things are going.
mm,
We don't have a lot of retail FOMO in the market right now. And so it's really, I think, people looking for directionally, like which way is this going to go? My guess is you're probably dealing with that until the results of the election come through and we've got a real clarity on like which direction is the US heading? Because I think some of those things um, are going to be really telling.
yeah, yeah, that's a great point. There's a lot of things up in the air, and I know I don't want to get into politics, but obviously you got presidential candidates supporting crypto, and um, it's pretty amazing. Crypto is everywhere now, and in politics and TradFi, of course,
Sure.
really incredible stuff. Um, and as far as Kraken's vision for what it wants to be, and maybe you can't tell everything here, but I'm curious, you know, are you guys trying to be like a crypto bank? What's the vision for Kraken like over the next 5 years?
I think it starts with our customers, right? And like our customers tell us they want to build wealth in crypto, and they think about crypto in a way that enables them to have a solid and maybe a bright financial future. And so I think we use that as the North Star, which is kind of North Star number one is a belief that crypto is a democratizing investment for just about everybody. North Star number two is we want to help our customers build wealth. And so then I think that's the lens we use for how do you build products that help people do that. And so we've got people who stare at meme coins and try to figure out like if we helped people figure out meme coins, is that going to help them build wealth? And offered more meme coins faster, would that help them build wealth? And there's a whole slew of things that we will be offering in terms of listing more assets and being more responsive to wealth building opportunities that are kind of the core of those things.
Hmm. Yeah. And I know, it's a bit of an arms race here where all these exchanges, everybody's trying to grab as much market share and expand globally. So I'm excited to see what's on the horizon here for Kraken and future updates, Tim. I got some wrap-up questions here for you. First, if you could create your own metaverse, what would the theme be?
What would the theme be? Ah, boy, I don't know. I like, I'm a pretty hardcore sci-fi fan to begin with, and so if you like went back to like Gibson's Neuromancer, like I just like to live in that world, which was kind of like the first time my head exploded, and I was like, wow, that like living in that kind of metaverse would be cool. So that's kind of the old school thing that I'd still like to see happen.
Awesome. And rapid fire questions, favorite food,
Steak.
favorite musician or band?
I love a lot of them. I guess top of mind right now, I've been listening to a lot of Chapel Roan with my daughter who's 14 and she's very into it. And so I actually think Chapel Roan is kind of will be appreciated by my set sooner than people think.
Favorite movie?
I love Blade Runner. It's like an old school.
Yeah, but one of my favorite movies. Favorite book?
My favorite book. Um, I really like a sci-fi series by Gene Wolfe called Shadow of the Torturer. And it's
Mhm.
like probably one of the classics I go back to all the time on sci-fi front.
And when you're not working at Kraken, what are you doing for fun?
I love to get outside and do outdoor stuff. I kiteboard, I ski, I mountain bike, and that's kind of where I'm hopefully not in front of Zoom and getting out and doing stuff.
Tim, pleasure chatting with you, and I appreciate all the insights and information around Kraken. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tony. This was great.